mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? Not so much this weekend. It's mostly a boxing weekend, but yeah, you know, lot of stories.
Changed last minute.
Yeah. And at a very low volume. I mean, you are in Las Vegas. You are in the media room in Las Vegas. And I thought, you know what? Let everybody know. Let all the media people know that we are live on the preview show here. A combat trifecta preview show. As you can see right there, we got Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen 3 in a boxing match. And then in the middle, we got Tatsuro Taira fighting Alex Perez at UFC Vegas 93. And we get Tank Davis versus Frank Martin. And I'm sure out of all the things going on in the combat sports world, these three cards are what you really want to talk about on this Friday. But we're going to do our best, and then we'll take questions at the end, and I'm sure we'll talk about whatever the hell else you want to talk about. But thanks for joining us. I am Mike Heck. What a crew we have. We have Mr. No Gray Area, the Hot Take Kid, the Baron of Boop himself, Jed Meshew. How we doing, Jed? Good to see you again.
It's booping season. It is. Like, I'm not even going to pretend that we're going to talk about this week's stuff. The fans don't want to hear it. We'll talk some, but once they get involved, it'll be all of that. And we're back to boop season. Let's go. Woo!
Boop season is back. And joining us from New York, José Youngs. Lots of boxing. It's great to have Jose here to lend us his knowledge as he's got his Celtics hat on as we get ready for Banner 18 to be officially set in the TD Garden.
Celtics and to live long and prosper.
It's over, baby.
We don't talk about it. I'm hyper superstitious when it comes to celebrating before things are over. Hence, like, before I was pretty fine. Famously, 3-0 series leads don't mean shit in Boston on both sides of the spectrum. So I'm going to celebrate when that clock hits 0, 100%.
It's over. They're going to be gentlemen and let the Mavs get one and then close it down at home.
I said before the series even started, Celtics in 6. I'm going to stick with that.
I said 5. I think I'm wrong. Scotty Foster's going to be donning the stripes here. Celtics are 6-0 when Scotty Foster's donning the stripes. Celtics undefeated on the road this year. This shit's over. They're
undefeated on the road in the playoffs. They've definitely lost games. Yes. To be fair, we've lost one game, 2 games in the playoffs. Like, we haven't lost in a month.
Yeah,
one.
Yeah, we've lost one game.
No, because you don't want to win on the road. The celebration in Dallas isn't fun.
It's tremendous.
No, here's the thing, Jed. I want to win a championship no matter where it is.
You punt this one, you win the one. It's fine. No. You win the game on Monday, and it's a wrap.
Boston sports also don't famously win championship series at home. I think the 2013 we won at Fenway and the Celtics. Everything else we've won on the road. Like, obviously the Super Bowls are on the road because that's a neutral ground. And then we beat the Dodgers in LA. We beat the Rockies in Colorado. We beat the Cardinals in St. Louis. We beat the Canucks in Vancouver.
Yeah. Do what the Celtics did to the Lakers to win that championship. Just do that tonight. Win by 50. Just put the boot on their throat. Just blow them out of the water. And let's have a great time with them.
I was I lost my voice is finally back. After game 3, I was losing my mind in both good and bad ways.
Yes, it was an emotional roller coaster, but it ended in a good way. Boy, where do we begin? Let's just get right into it. I mean, this is MMA fighting. Let's talk about UFC Vegas 93. Jed, explain your scorecard. Last week we discussed UFC Vegas 93. I think it was on to the next one. You may be thinking 2.5. On the old fart scale, but boy, we lost an entire point. How did that happen? Ikram Aliskerov was a full point.
Yeah,
Ikram Aliskerov was a half point, and the 2.5 was being generous, just straight up. Like, this is the lowest score of this illustrious system has ever offered for us, and it's about right. Frankly, I'm very happy about Ikram Aliskerov not being on here. Like, we would be talking about Ikram and the terrible things he was gonna do to Antonio Tricoli because he's not very good. But, like, it's pretty clearly better that Ikram is fighting Robert Whittaker next weekend. So, maybe not for Bob, but better for us and for Ikram supporters out there. But it does make this already very thin card that much thinner. So this is a one fight card, really, and even that one fight is not like the best fight of all time, but the main event's pretty cool. And Tagir Ulanbekov versus Josh Van, the prelim featured bout is Ulanbekov's ranked. Van's will get ranked with the win. And I do like that fight. It's not to say that all the fights on this weekend are bad. I think Quinlan Fugit is going to be fun for however long it lasts. There are a couple of other decent things happening, but like this is just, if we only did a fan Q&A episode here, if it was just like, it's immediately to you peeps, I would be shocked if we got more than 3 questions about this UFC fight card.
Let me ask Mike,
nobody else.
Let me ask a follow-up question, Mike. Would your score be affected if this started 7 p.m. Eastern rather than 10 p.m. Eastern?
No, but that sure doesn't help it. I try not to factor the time into it, but like when and the terrible like roller coaster we've had, because originally I thought it was 10 and then I was told actually it's 7. I was like, oh, that's better. And then we had a meeting this week where someone drops like, no, they pushed it back to 10. Like, hot damn, pretty stoked I'm not working tomorrow, fellas.
It's a tough one. Jose, your thoughts on the card? I mean, look, the main event is pretty interesting. We'll see if Tatsuro Taira is the real deal. Josh Van's looked really good. He's fighting a legit dude in Tagir Ulanbekov in there. Yeah, there's some fun scraps on here for sure. I don't think it's going to be the worst thing you do this weekend, but your thoughts on the lineup here, because as positive as we'd like to be, it's a pretty rough one.
This ain't great. This ain't great. I like the main event. I'm a big fan of, and when I call Alex Perez a veteran, I'm not saying he's like past his prime or anything, like, because especially after his most recent win over Nicolau, that was his first win since like UFC 250 because of various like cancellations or just he straight up lost to like Makhaev and everything. So it's good to see Alex Perez be active. You know, he's fought Makhaev, he fought Nicolau, now he's fighting Taira, like all in a relatively short amount of time. I've always thought he was a really talented fighter, and Tatsuro Taira, we've talked about it a few times. Like, what does the flyweight division has all these really young, fun prospects, and I think the 2 big ones were Makhaev and Tatsuro Taira. They kind of entered the UFC within like a year apart of each other. Taira was just so much younger, and Makhaev came in with all that experience on the amateur scene, like the MMA, AF. Like he won a bunch. He obviously had the same managers at the time of like Connor at Paradigm before all of those that break apart with whatever Tim Simpson's management company is right now. I like this fight. I'm a big fan of, undefeated prospects challenging themselves against former title contenders that are not going to fight for title anytime soon, but are always a tough matchup. But after the main event, it's not great. I was obviously really excited to watch Ikram fight because I feel like he's struggled to find opponents, or he's gone hurt, his opponent's gone hurt, sickness and this and that. Very happy he's fighting Robert Whittaker because that fight is just infinitely better, but I was excited to watch him this weekend. Outside of that, like Nate Maness is always fun. Tagir is fun. Jimmy Flick is fun, but not the best. And I know last week everyone was like, oh, UFC Louisville sucks. So I'm like, I thought UFC Louisville's lineup was better than UFC St. Louis, and it's definitely better than UFC Vegas 93. So take that for what you will. But again, no one's going to be like, of all the combat sports happening this week, this is like the third biggest thing we're going to be talking about. And if you include all the news that broke yesterday, it's like the 4th, maybe 5th most talked about conversation. So yeah, not the best. Though.
Yeah.
Dude, legitimately, like the biggest story about this fight card is that Ikram Aliskerov is replacing Hamzat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not great.
Shouts to Left Lane MMA in the chat because he has fired in a super chat that is timely. So I'm just going to respond to it now because the super chat is about a man on this card, guys. Man by the name of Jose Johnson, who is making his debut and is the last person. Actually, maybe it's not his flyweight debut. Last person to weigh in. He's fighting theoretically Asu Almabayev. He's not going to make weight, and the super chat is asking over under 3 pounds for the miss. I'm going to go with the over. Assuming y'all aren't like deep into the Jose Johnson lore, it's a dude who fought at lightweight. He is 6 feet tall. He has fought
Yep.
at bantamweight in the UFC, and I think has a 0% chance of making weight. Mike, we talked about it on No Bets Barred this week. I was going to have Asu Amabayev in a parlay, and then thought, no chance that fight happens. I just won't even waste my time with it. And shocker of all shockers, last man to weigh in. So I suspect we got a weight miss coming, and I'm going to guess that it's right around 3 pounds, maybe 2.5 with the pound allowance.
Well, I mean, according to MMAfighting.com, which is a great website, and we take our weigh-ins very seriously.
Perhaps the
Jose
best.
Johnson, perhaps the best. Jose Johnson, one of 3 fighters to not step on the scale just yet. So there's hope.
I love me.
That has yet to be updated because AK reached out to me and specifically he is now the only one who has not stepped on the scale.
So Fugit and Pilastri both.
I believe so because AK hit me and was like, "Hey man," I was like, "Yep, no surprise."
Hey, look, he's got 16 minutes.
He's got an hour or whatever.
I love me a Jose with an anglicized last name though. I feel like kindred spirit, though his nickname is terrible.
Lobo Solitario?
Yeah, that means lone wolf.
I was able to piece that together. My rough Spanish.
Not great.
Got that one.
Jose Johnson, by the way, from Michigan, where you are allowed to have unsanctioned MMA events. So Jose Johnson in 1 year had like 51 amateur fights.
I love that.
1 year. Like 85 amateur fights total.
I actually respect the hell out of that.
Yeah. Dude fought like literally every weekend in Michigan.
Yeah. Like I think I looked up because at his last fight, no, he got twisted. I don't know if it was the last fight or like one of the last few fights.
No. He is the man who got twisted by Damon Blackshear.
Yeah, he got twisted by Damon Blackshear. And I obviously, like I said, like I joke about it, but anytime there's a Jose whose first name is Jose and then their last name is very white, like myself, I just kind of do some semblance of research it because that's a weird combination of words.
Sure.
And then I went to his Tapology page and it just kept scrolling and scrolling. I'm like, where does his record end? And then I quickly realized it was like all amateur fights. It was like he literally fought every weekend, win or lose.
And
like
most of his amateur fights aren't even on his Tapology page because they were unsanctioned bouts.
Like if I remember,
dude's insane.
If I remember correctly, he was like 1-6 at one point, and then he ended like 19-14. So he went on some sort of run and then fell off again. That dude is a maniac.
He has fought at flyweight before, back in 2015. So a decade ago, he fought at flyweight.
Yeah, his story is really fascinating because he's been twisted in a UFC fight, yet he's had like 2 of the most viral regional knockouts ever in the United States. Like 2 of the scariest knockouts that you'll ever see on the regional scene. Like he's just had such a wild ass career that man. But
like I pulled up his Tapology. The man lost his last 2 amateur fights, one of them to Charles Johnson. And then he said he's on a 2-fight losing streak and decided, you know what? I think it's time to finally go pro. So he went pro and he lost his first 2 pro fights.
He's actually 0-2 against Charles Johnson as an amateur.
Sure. He sure is. He's just
out here, man.
A rich history. And what a rivalry between those guys. It's the flyweight version of it's a flyweight version of Kevin Holland versus Jeff Neal, which we need to see run back.
I love that his Tapology photo is him holding a 145-pound belt. And now this dude's about to make flyweight. Okay, like my issue with this book is entirely like Amabayev is like a dude. Like he is not young at all, so he needs to get going. But he is like has a lot of talent and potential, and so you don't want him to have a fight fall through the day before the fight card. Like, just don't put Jose Johnson in this spot where if he blows weight, it kind of sets you back on a guy who you would like to see develop more. So, but that's where we're at. We're talking about Jose Johnson making weight and to talk about this fight card.
It's the story of the week. It's the story of the week. It's the story that we've been keeping our eye on for the last 10 days. Will Jose Johnson make weight at 125 pounds? But speaking of 125 pounds, Alex Perez Coming in as the underdog, José Youngs, plus 170. Tatsuro Taira's looked real good. A lot of people feel like it's almost a 2-horse race between Taira and Muhammad Mokaev, who will get to the title first.
Taira's going to be the first champion born in the 2000s, because that's what they're racing for.
But I wanted to start with Jose because he loves these conversations, and he like a lot of us over at MMAfighting.com, great website, just jumps on these prospects real fast. He believes in them. Already knows like when the date of their first title fight's going to be.
That's right.
How are we feeling here, Jose? Is this in terms of steps up in competition? I mean, this is obviously a big one, but the talent is certainly there. But Alex Perez is a wily veteran, and this is just one of those big tests. We're throwing this man into the fire, and let's see if he can get out of it. And if he does, big things happen. If not the end of the world. He's still a young man. What do you think of the step up for Tatsuro Taira? Have you been impressed with what he's done thus far?
Yeah, man. I think I've been in attendance to most of his fights in the UFC. He's a really charismatic dude. Obviously, the language barrier is a hurdle that some people just can't overcome in terms of like connecting with the fans. But I am such a fan of when he says a joke, he keeps a really straight face, but the translator laughs. And then when the translator is translating, or the interpreter is translating, and Tatsuro Taira's trying to keep a straight face because he knows what he said, and it's really funny. And then when the translator says it in English, it's absolutely hilarious. So I'm a big fan of him in terms of his charisma. He's a very exciting young prospect. And if I remember correctly, he was supposed to fight Tim Elliott, and they were supposed to fight Josh Van. And we talked about like flyweight prospects between like the 2-horse race. Before Josh Van's last loss, he was right there. Like Josh Van is such a talented dude at flyweight. So I think he's what, 10-1, 11-1, 9-1, something like that. So again, flyweight has such a fun future, and I was really hyped for that fight. Josh Van versus Tatsuro Taira. I would have been fine with the Tim Elliott / Alex Perez, like Taira fighting a veteran, or him fighting a fellow prospect to see which one kind of makes the leap and the other one kind of falls behind a little bit. So I'm fine with all three of those fights. Alex Perez, I think, is going to be the tougher fight for him. Has fought for the title, has fought a lot of high-level guys at flyweight, has fought all kinds of different styles of fighting. I think this is the perfect test. I'm not ready to crown him yet. I don't think he's going to fight for the title this year. At earliest, if he keeps winning, maybe early next year. Pantoja is so good at fist fighting. He's so durable. He's such a just well-rounded fighter. Obviously, the winner of Makhachev and Manel Kape would most likely make sense for the flyweight title shot. I know Casey and a few other people have been really high on Manel. I've been really high on Makhachev. I think everyone's been high on Makhachev, even if his fights aren't that exciting. The winner of that should fight for the title next. So the answer is Makhachev is most likely going to fight for the title and become the first person born in like the 21st century, whatever it is, to win a UFC belt. But Tatsuro Taira is right there. And I think if he wins 2 more, maybe, I think he could be fighting for the title soon, especially if they're trying to break into that market. If they want to do more pay-per-views in, Japan, China, Singapore, I think he's a guy that you can kind of push.
Jed, you host a betting show, and the odds have, kind of jumped around a bit on this fight. Taira, minus 205 favorite here against Alex
Money
Perez.
keeps coming in on him.
Yeah. Are you surprised that the line has gotten this high?
No. It just makes sense given maybe not even the matchup, but just the perceptions around the matchup, because Perez this is a classic thing that happens of, hey, here is a young hot prospect, super high on him. Honestly, like a little bit of the Shavkat Rakhmonov of flyweight, right? Where like Shavkat and Khamzat came at the same time, and Khamzat had all the shine, and then Khamzat's kind of lost a little bit of luster, and then missed weight, and he's had all this going on, and suddenly it's okay. Shavkat has just been the dude the whole time, steady Eddie, keeps putting in great performances, great finishes. It's a little bit of that with Makhachev and Taira. Makhachev has faced better opposition and has still looked good, but has not been as impressive as kind of maybe we had aspired for him to be, whereas Taira has not faced the same level, but has been lights out basically every time he stepped in the cage. And now he is getting a big step up immediately, because if he beats Perez, he's immediately a top 5 dude. If he wins on Saturday in the UFC rankings, Taira will be above Makhachev. I do though agree with what Jose said. The winner of Makhachev versus Kopp, should that fight happen, God knows Manel Kopp seems to really have issues getting to fight week. If that fight goes through, the winner of it will be the guy who fights Pantoja, probably the co-main at MSG or something like that at the end of this year. But the winner of this fight, because even if Alex Perez comes out here and beats Taira, I mean, now he's on a 2-fight win streak. Yes, he's already challenged for it. He's lost to basically the top guys, but I still kind of think a win here gets him another crack at a top 5 dude, Amir Albazi, Kai Kara France, and then that fight will also be for the next title shot. So I think what they are fighting for is to get a title eliminator, probably against Amir Albazi, unless I'm forgetting that he's booked against somebody, because
he's not booked.
He was a dude who was supposed to get a title fight functionally and then got injured and now has kind of just been forgotten, but still hanging around there. So a lot at stake. I'm not surprised that the money has come in on Taira, but I think that's less a function of what this matchup is and more he's the hot prospect and Perez is the veteran who's good, but probably overlooked at this point because of the very high profile losses he has.
Yeah, depending on if Taira wins quickly, or if someone wins this quickly, I could see a world where they try to get a quick turnaround and match him up against Steve Erceg in Perth, just because that's where Steve Erceg is from. Is very popular.
Yeah,
and
so the Steve Erceg thing too is like that's a great point because flyweight's a little weird. Steve Erceg just fought for the title. Maybe Taira gets a title fight if he wins this, just because things break weird. Like if Manel Kopp blows weight, and so like the day of, and suddenly that fight's off, and they already have a plan for Pantoja, they might just give it to Taira.
I bet if Manel Kopp blows it and doesn't make weight or doesn't make it, whatever, I bet they just give Makhachev a title shot. I think it'll be that route because beating Alex Perez tomorrow night while we record this, Makhachev just did that 2 months ago. So he's just like a slight step ahead of Taira. And who's Alex Perez lost to? Makhachev, Pantoja, Figueiredo, and Joe B. Like 3 of the best flyweights that has ever lived.
Yeah.
You beat Alex Perez, you're gonna fight for a title someday.
But if Taira comes out and just dummies him, like Steve Erceg got that impressive knockout, and they're like, good enough. Like if Taira does that, I could see flyweight is one of those things where the worst outcome for Taira with the win is he's 1 away. And if he really dazzles tomorrow night, maybe he just slides into a title fight,
He could.
Availability is your
and
best
honestly,
friend.
I'm more interested in Taira fighting Pants right now than I am Makhachev. I think he stands a better chance against Pants than Makhachev does right now.
Well, let's see if the youngster can dazzle. Let's make our predictions. Jed, like you said, Taira minus 205 right now, according to DraftKings. Alex Perez coming back at plus 170. Does the young man dazzle, Jed Meshew?
I am picking him to maybe not dazzle, but to have a very, very strong performance. It is simplistic, but Alex Perez has lost to the very best fighters he's faced, and I have been very clear. I do think Tatsuro Taira is one of those guys. I think he is the best Japanese prospect since Kyoji. I think he is the best bet Japan has to finally get a UFC champion. And I think he is going to kind of show that class. It's a big step up. I think he's ready for it. And the way Tatsuro Taira wins primarily, though not all the time, is finding something in transition, getting takedowns, finding his way to the back, stuff like that. And Alex Perez has a history of getting submitted when he is in there with a guy who is more athletic than him and a equal or superior grappler. So I'm going 3rd round sub for Taira. I think it's time. Let's get Japan a champion, boys.
Jose, your pick.
I'm going to go Alex Perez. I think experience just has to play a factor at some point. This is Taira's first main event. I think this is his first matchup in general against a ranked opponent, let alone someone that's fought the best of the best. Alex Perez is 32, 33, so he's just at the tail end of his physical prime. I know athleticism plays a major factor, especially when it comes to these flyweight fights, because it's just such a electric division in terms of speed and athleticism. Tatsuro Taira could be the best flyweight on planet Earth. He might be better than Alex Perez. I just haven't seen it yet. Like if this fight took place a year from now, when I got some more data on Tatsuro Taira fighting top opponents. Like if he had beaten Josh Van, I'd probably would have, or Tim Elliott, and then fought Alex Perez, probably would have picked Tatsuro Taira. But Alex Perez is coming off that really incredible performance against Mateus Nicolau, who probably should have fought for the title a long time ago. The fight against Makhachev was a slog. Some random people think he won. I don't think he won that fight. I just think he's catching Taira at the right time, and so I'm going to pick Alex Perez. But if he is going to lose, I think it's like Jed said. I think it'll be a submission. Gives up a lot of submissions. Taira is very good at grappling, but I just think Alex Perez, veteran wherewithal, is going to be the biggest factor in this.
Yeah, the pick for me is Taira. I don't think he's going to fight outside of himself. I don't think he's going to get super sloppy and over-aggressive and let the moment get to him too much. And I think if there's one advantage to competing in the world's most famous Apex, I think that's probably it for Tatsuro Taira. Doesn't have to do it in front of 17,000 people. He just gets to go in there in a place he's fought a million times and do work. So he could strike. He can match power for power with Alex Perez. Absolutely. His striking is incredibly underrated. Doesn't get enough credit for it. And he could just maul you with his grappling. And I think that's what he does here. And that's a tremendous advantage he has in this fight, especially if he gets to the mat. I know Perez has a wrestling pedigree. He can get takedowns, but Taira is a friggin' anaconda down there. And that's just bad news for Alex Perez. So as long as Tatsuro Taira fights a smart fight, doesn't fight outside of himself and get overly aggressive and want to impress the 11 fans that are going to be watching inside the world's most famous Apex, I think he's going to be okay. Second round submission is my pick for Tatsuro Taira. I do think the fight is going to be fun. I think it's going to be fast paced. And would it shock me if Alex Perez won? No, but I was on No Bets Barred. Oh, breaking news. No, that's insane.
Wow.
Breaking news. We have breaking news. Guys, Jose Johnson made weight. 126. 126 for the over 6-footer. Dude is a pro.
Way to go.
Absolute pro.
I'll now be placing a large wager on Almabayev.
Yes, now you can do it. Guys, Tagir Ulanbekov, who will be fighting in the featured prelim against Josh Van, misses weight by 3.5 pounds. 129 and a half.
I hate that a lot.
Jeez, man.
The problem is I have a bet on Josh Van, and while I enjoy it when the people I have a bet on cheat and come in overweight and I get that little extra edge, it's tough because this is already a hard fight for Van, and now he's fighting a bantamweight.
I feel pretty good. I mean, I think my bet on this fight is that the fight goes to the cards anyways. So there you have it. Oh, big weight miss. And
what a swerve. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Wonder if Josh Van just says, F it. I ain't fighting this dude. He wants to cheat.
He's 22 years old. He doesn't have sense and logic. He's going to absolutely. I'll take the extra 20%.
Just go in there and do work. Okay. Look, I want to get to the peeps in a hot second. So real quick, we have boxing events. Jed, I'll let you wax poetically on what we're going to see in Brazil. At least what the people who are in attendance and people who are actually in Brazil are going to be able to see, since we can't see it. But it's been quite the fight week for one Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva. They're going to box in a black tie affair in front of about 700 VIPs in a event that you can only watch in Brazil on Globo. Our own Guilherme Cruz is going to be out there. So if you want like coverage and results, like he's there, but you won't be able to watch it. What are your thoughts, Jed? Are you, let's just say they announced the fine folks of Spot and Beer made an announcement. Hey, we're going to air it in the United States. How excited would you be? Are you into this? Does Chael have a chance? What do you think this is actually going to be? Can you sell this?
I would pay $0 to watch this, but I am deeply jealous of Guy. I would 100% go to this if it was there. But I am, I've been wrong about plenty of things. I was just wrong about Jose Johnson. I would be pretty surprised if this is anything more than a sparring match between these two. Chael's kind of even giving up the game this week as they've talked and like, yeah, he's promoting, he's doing the Chael bits and stuff. But like when this was announced, everyone's first inclination was why. And then everyone's inclination was like, they don't even dislike each other. They're like friends now. They're boys. They enjoy each other's company. So what is this about? And the answer is someone's going to pay them to put on a Rocky 3-esque sparring match. And that's what's going to happen. Anderson's not going to try and hurt a 57 or however old. How old is Chael? Like 50? A 50-year-old Chael in front of his kids in Brazil for nothing and no gain. These are 2-minute exhibitions. Chael can't box, and Chael's going to maybe clown around a little bit, and they're going to have some fun. But this isn't even going to be remotely close to like a real boxing match. But, maybe it'll be fun, and it's certainly kind of an interesting, little nostalgia trip if you're in Brazil and can watch this. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. It's probably more like Rocky versus Thunder Lips than Rocky Apollo, like in the gym with, you know what I mean? It's just got to be weird and fun, and Chael's probably going to pick
I was just trying, which
him.
was the one where Rocky did like an exhibition boxing match in?
That was Thunder Lips. Hulk Hogan.
Whichever. Yeah, the Hulk Hogan one. Yeah, that
Rocky
was the one I was saying. It was like,
So what you're saying is Chael Sonnen is going to pick up Anderson Silva over his head,
legitimately
and spin him in circles.
Legitimately, it would not at all surprise me if Chael like fires off a double in the middle of this.
Of course.
Also, Thunder Lips is just an absolutely spectacular name for a wrestler.
So good. So good. Yeah, Chael picks up Anderson, chucks him over the top rope and into the third row. Incredible scenes. Be incredible. But in Las Vegas, Jose, which is where our fearless producer EK Leiden is right now, Tank Davis against Frank Martin. It's going down. First face-off was fun. We had a flinch, and David Benavidez also fighting on the card, defending his light heavyweight title. What can we look forward to here? Why should people tune in and watch this event?
Well, I mean, I think Tank Davis is one of those guys that's kind of must-see television right now for boxing. I know, especially in the lower weight classes. I know everyone was high on the heavyweight division after Tyson Fury lost to Alexander Usyk when we got our first undisputed heavyweight champion since like 1999 or 2001 or 2002, whatever it was. But after that, like if both of those men retire, say they rematch, which they will obviously, and Usyk wins and then just retires, and Tyson Fury decides he doesn't want to do it anymore because he's already lost twice to the best, possibly one of the best fighters ever, and then they both retire, that heavyweight division is, for lack of a better term, ass after that. There's really no one on the up and up. Dubois is fun, and Wilder's always fun to get knocked out. Zhang is exciting. Anthony Joshua is all of a sudden the best heavyweight in the world after those two retire. It's a weird scene. Joseph Parker becomes like the second best heavyweight walking right now. It's weird. But this fight, it's weird because I don't think, like a year ago, I don't think Frank Martin wanted this fight. But, money talks, and maybe there was just lack of other options. I think this is going to be Frank Martin is a very supremely talented boxer. I just think Tank Davis is one of the best fighters pound for pound in the world right now. Martin is probably faster, probably more accurate, and probably has cleaner defense, but he throws a ton and doesn't have a lot of knockout power. It kind of whittles you down and then puts you away in the later half of the fight. Tank Davis is not that. He doesn't throw a lot of volume. He looks for openings, and when he lands, he cripples you. So I think Frank Martin is going to be in this fight for a while because, speed. He's like whatever the stats are at the beginning, I bet Frank Martin has more punches through the first 4 rounds, but Tank will probably have a higher accuracy because he doesn't really throw unless he's going to land. If Frank Martin keeps that up and makes 0 mistakes, there is a maybe 1-2% chance he could pull off the decision. I just don't see it happening because in boxing, even if you block a punch, a body shot or whatever, it hurts. And if Gervonta Davis throws a bunch of hard power shots in those, first 4 rounds, your arms are going to hurt, and then eventually you'll find that opening. I just think Tank Davis is better. He hits harder. He's going to find that opening. Massive spotlight on Frank Martin that he's never had before. Tank Davis kind of thrives in the spotlight. I think it's going to go very similar to the Ryan Garcia fight. I think Frank Martin's going to have success early with speed and accuracy, and then Gervonta is just going to knock him out, TKO or KO in like rounds 8 through 10, or 8 through 9, I should say. Gervonta Davis should win. It's a really fun fight. A lot of people just kind of see Frank Martin as dead man walking, and you kind of have to talk yourself into picking him to win or trying to convince yourself there's a possibility. He's very good. He is very, very good. Tank Davis is operating on another level right now. On 8-9 round TKO.
Should be fun. Should be fun. And
also, like when Frank, I think it would have been closer if like when Frank Martin fought Artem. I'm not even going to try to pronounce Artem's last name. I've never been able to. Artem like bum rushed him with just like blunt force offense, and that was a big problem for Frank Martin. And he still won, so he knows how to win under duress. And that is not Tank Davis. He's not any sort of like, I'm going to swarm you, but he has that like, fuck you power that'll just put you out. So I think that'll put the fear of God into you. Like we saw him flinch at a face-off. There's going to be a lot of flinching from Frank Martin in that fight.
That's my issue. Is like, how does Frank win? I think he can be competitive. I have a bet on this going to decision, honestly, but he just... Like he's fast, he's very technically sound, good defensively, but if he is going to beat Gervonta, he's going to have to try and hit Gervonta, and then he's going to get hit back.
I think like I said, with like it's gonna like Ryan Garcia won a few fights and then took one hard punch and was all of a sudden like gun shy and kind of shelled up. I think that's what's gonna happen. Frank is going to find success early, eat a massive punch, and then just be like, oh, fuck. Like, this is... Now, they have sparred. I will put it out there. They have sparred, and Frank Martin is like, I felt his power. I know I can take it. Sparring is a lot different than fighting when there's a lot of money on the line. Take that for what you will. It's also like 4 years ago, so it is what... But, again, Tank should win this. I'm not... It should be a finish.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And Joe B.
I'm trying to find
David Benavidez should just like
Joe B.
10th.
Joe B. Like heavyweight boxing title.
I would love that. I would love.
It'd be amazing. It'd be amazing. I'm trying to find David
Benavidez's brother is Jose Benavidez or cousin, whatever it is. So,
well, there you go. I'm trying to find
Benavidez. I saw David Benavidez fought on the regional scene in Arizona once, and I said, "This man is really good. I hope he makes it far." Now look at him.
Look at him go.
Look at him go is quite the way to kind of like summarize David Benavidez's career. Look at him go. Just great. Look at the boxing on this kid.
He's doing the thing. He's doing the thing. All right.
That's hilarious.
Let's go to the peeps. I'm sure they have lots of things to discuss. And there he is.
Casey,
goddamn one of them about this weekend.
Casey, what's the vibe down there? Because obviously the Ryan Garcia fight was massive, but is like it on the? Obviously, it's not gonna be on that level. But how's the vibes down there?
Pretty good, actually. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect because this doesn't really have any sort of MMA storyline, or it's just pure boxing.
Yeah.
Like no one's like, there's no one's calling out Benavidez like in the MMA world or something like that. So this is just a pure boxing event. So I didn't really know what to expect, but now it feels big. I was there for the open workouts, the arrivals, which is the only thing the fans were allowed to see. So, but it was big. It felt big. It doesn't. No, nothing. Tank and Ryan Garcia obviously was bigger, but from a boxing perspective, the fans are here. Media's here. It feels big. The press conference was pretty cool between Tank and Frank Martin. I dug it. Yeah. So I'm excited about Saturday night.
I think they nailed this fight card because David Benavidez is like this big Mexican superstar, and then Tank is one of the faces of boxing. And if you look at the poster, they're really selling this as like two different fights, not just two fights on the same card. Like they have whole different color schemes for both guys. Yeah. So you're gonna get the Mexican crowd with the Benavidez. You're gonna get the boxing and that black fan base for Tank Davis and Frank Martin. I think they nailed this in terms of like both of these fights being on the same card, because David Benavidez deserves the spotlight, because I need him to fight Canelo so badly. It needs to be a bigger deal.
it's kind of cool, and they've definitely been all week selling this as like kind of a double main event, which I feel it is in a sense. Yeah,
100%.
obviously Tank's the main event, but they got their own press conference for the co-main event and everything. It's been pretty cool actually. It's a good boxing week. Yeah, it's exciting. But what else has been going on in the MMA world?
Nothing has happened.
Dana White
Eddie
fucked up my
Hall.
sleep schedule.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Tim Johnson got kicked in the nuts. That's what happened. That's the biggest story.
Oh,
Dude.
no, I know. You
That was
guys are
deeply
wanting to
funny.
talk about.
Hey,
Montel
what-
Jackson needs another new opponent for UFC Saudi
Yes.
Arabia.
Oh
next
yeah,
week,
yeah. That's the big story.
Which is a
What
bummer.
happened to-
That actually sucks.
Actually,
Lynn Vassell
kinda-
beat Valentin Moldavsky again last night
Oh,
in the
Vassell
worst
won?
fight you'll ever
Did he, though?
watch. He did.
Was it that
I mean,
bad?
How
he
did,
won 2 of the
so-
3 scorecards.
I didn't watch. I was watching the PFL because I was doing social media for it, and then all of a sudden, like a bunch
Yeah,
of
all hell
fights-
broke loose.
all hell broke loose. So I stopped watching the PFL, and then by the time I had caught up with work, the event was over. Thiago Santos fought, right? Did he look good?
No, he got obliterated.
All right, that's what I thought.
It was he was a late step in at heavyweight, and he looked
Mm,
he did not look to be in shape. He hasn't been
Mm.
good lately anyway, and Goltov killed him. Just killed him.
You know, we
Yeah.
always talk about
Yeah, there you
Reyes
go.
and like the giant fall off after the
Yeah.
Jones loss. I don't think we talk enough about Santos and
yeah,
the career
Thiago
fall
Santos
off he had.
blew out both of his knees in that
What?
fight.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's just wild. Like
what?
And like
It's wild because like Thiago Santos was never supposed to be a light heavyweight. Like he took like that short notice fight against Eric Anders, who was also a middleweight, and there was like 2 short notice opponents who were just like, F it, let's fight a light heavyweight. And then fought Jimmy Manoa in an absolutely insane fight. And then had another fight against Jan Blachowicz in an insane fight. He's like, guess I'm a light heavyweight now. And then just stayed there fighting tall, giant people.
Yeah, and like that's the other thing about it too. Like we knew who Thiago Santos was. He just kind of high rolled and got a title fight by high rolling. Whereas like we kind of thought that Dominic Reyes was like, oh, he's young and good, and then he just lost a bunch. So it was weird. But yeah, he looked like a man who was not stepping in on short notice and isn't a heavyweight. He got dropped by a check hook and Goltov killed him.
Yep.
all right.
It was fine.
It was a really
fine.
bad
I mean,
PFL. It was a really bad PFL last night.
we had a double ding ding kick, which is it was going to be one of the moments of the year in all of MMA.
It wasn't a double ding ding.
What?
That was a ding ding and
Or
a dropped him.
Ding ding and a drop. Yeah. I mean, whatever the frig it was. It was awesome. I
And-
still
and
haven't been able to
Liz
like figure out
Carmouche's
how that all went down. That was cool.
Comeback armbar, which was a classic no yes moment, and that was it. And
Yep.
Dakota Cheva beat some poor woman senseless.
Yeah. If you just read the results of the card outside of the main event, you would have been like, yeah, okay, this is what I expected
You know-
to happen. I'm glad I skipped this one.
You know what's dope? Lynn Vassell
got it.
wins the main event and doesn't make the playoffs. Valentin Moldavsky, who he beat, is in the playoffs. Vassell is not. I love the PFL.
Jenna Bishop
PFL.
loses in the playoffs.
PFL.
Yes.
Ugh.
But I
It
think
was
that's-
fine. Carmouche
but I
one
think
was
that's-
cool. That was very cool.
But I think that's correct. I think the top. I mean, for the women's side, I think the Bellator, not PFL, did they get what they want in terms of the tournament as far as the women's side?
Yes, 100%.
Oh yeah,
They're
100%.
setting up very likely a Liz Carmouche Dakota Cheva final. So, they got the booking they wanted.
Yeah. This is.
They gave Dakota the best chance. I mean,
Yeah.
Jenna Bishop's a huge step up for her. I mean, it is
Huge. I mean,
compared to
I'm really
people she's
'cause
fought.
Bishop
It's
did good.
gigantic step up.
Yeah.
And Bishop
I-
had a good Bishop performed well on the undercard
Really
against
well,
Tyler
yeah.
Santos.
Yeah.
And
The goal for PFL was we got to get Dakota the #1 seed. Like we have to do it. There's no other thing. Like she can't be a 4 seed. She can't be a 2 or 3. Like she has to be the 1. So we're gonna give her the 2 easiest fights to get
sure
her
she
there.
gets in.
And that's exactly what happened. So
and now
she may lose to
now-
Jenna Bishop, but
Yeah, when she
at least
fights
they
Bishop,
put her in a
this
position.
is her first. This is her first real fight against a legit ladies flyweight. So I'm excited. I like it.
Yeah, Dakota
And,
is fun as hell to watch, though.
She is.
She is very fun.
Oh, I felt bad for Kana because I'm just a big Kana fan. And it's like, oh, she was so close.
She was
so close.
She was
So close.
8 seconds away.
Yep. But that's how it goes. All right.
That's
fitting on a weekend Chael Sonnen's fighting.
Good call.
All right.
Good call.
Let's go.
Wonder what the questions are going to be about.
Achilles Jr. Celtics are lame. You said the Celtics had no chance. Sorry, Achilles Jr. I bet I'll send you a box of Kleenex for 4th of July or something. John Jones is being a bick on Twitter. Nicely done.
I think that's
chickens can't be goats.
Bish. Yeah, bish.
I want to go with ish.
Oh, okay. The C is a S. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Bish.
Yeah, soft
on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's a bit. It's like the Bing. Chickens can't be goats. How are we feeling about the 3 new fights at UFC 303? There's 3 new fights, Jose. I didn't know that.
303. There are 3. There is the new main event between Alex Perez versus Jiri Prochazka 2. There's the new co-main event, which is Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega, and then there's I don't know where it's on the card, but it's now Anthony Smith is stepping in for an injured Jamal Hill, which was the original co-main event against Carlos Holberg. And the only one that I did not have word about happening before it was announced was the Anthony Smith fight. So thank God I had all those graphics ready like days in advance, because that would have been a real long night last night.
Yes.
Because I had heard Diego and Brian, they wanted to obviously happen at the Sphere, and then they just expedited it.
Yeah, why is that fight just thrown on this card in 2 weeks? I'm kind of confused.
Because they need to juice the card.
I don't think because it's a $20 million gate tickets. Well, I think they were trying to keep people from asking for refunds without the Conor, because so many people bought, like, nosebleeds were like $1,000.
Yeah.
So Alex versus Jiri 2 is an awesome main event, but is it $20 million gate worthy where it's $1,000 to sit as high up as possible? Probably not. So they just try to juice the card a little bit more. That's the only thing.
Yeah, and
it's like when they added it's the
needed
exact situation of when they added Bilal and Gilbert to the Newark card last year. They just needed a co-main event.
Just needed names. All right.
Yeah.
I think the card, honestly, like, really, especially with Jamal Hill falling out, because even though, like, I'm not a huge Jamal Hill fan, he is still a former champion. So with him dropping, Anthony Smith, Carlos Holberg is a weak co-main. So they need to juice the card. And it's a better card now. Like 303, we talked about this.
Way better card. Way better card.
That's way better. We did the reaction pod and talked about it. It's a much better card. Like it's not as it's not gonna sell as much. People aren't gonna be as interested casually. It's a much better fight card now.
And good for Diego. Diego was going hard for that Movsar fight. Imagine in a world where Diego Lopez wins the UFC.
He can get the Movsar fight now.
Well, imagine if Diego Lopez wins the UFC Featherweight Championship and then Movsar is his no more contender. He's like, nope, back of the line. I gave you your opportunity. I would love that. That would make me laugh so much.
It would be funny. But I was so adamantly against the Movsar fight. He beats Ortega. He can get that fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Movsar would then want that fight because he's going to have to fight somebody.
Yeah.
The reason I ask about the Ortega Lopez thing is because I think of the Louisville card and how they had the record gate and all this stuff for zero effort from the UFC. And I thought maybe the UFC would start doing that same strategy for pay-per-views. Let's just put anything out there and people will still buy it. But maybe the UFC's pay-per-view wise, they're still actually trying to sell pay-per-views.
For pay-per-views, they don't have to sell them because of the way their deal works. But they are still going to be incentivized to make them more appealing on to purchase. So
yeah, like, do you want to buy? Like, this is the second pay-per-view of the month. Like, I bet a lot of people didn't because I know there are people that budget for pay-per-views. Like, do you want to buy Islam versus Poirier when 28 days later Conor is fighting? Like, maybe they wait to buy that pay-per-view. So they're just trying to incentivize more buys and not tickets.
This is good for fans. Good for fans.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Plus, you get a lot of people traveling from all over the country and all over the globe for International Fight Week to go to UFCX and stuff. Like, It's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if
And
they're
there's-
going to a cuck a card, like they'll just be like, nah.
Yeah,
bet,
like
give me
I
my money back, which they can
I
do.
think it was December was when Ian Machado Gary was supposed to fight, right? And then he pulled out like the day of media day or the day. I ran into so many Irish people that like were there to see Ian Gary fight, and they were just like, half of them didn't know he was pulled, and I was like, sorry guys, you flew here and your boy's not fighting. So I know Dana White was asked about that, and he was like, actually elicited some sort of emotion, which was a first in a long time. But yeah, they don't want people asking for refunds. Probably those are expensive tickets.
They're still gonna have. There's gonna be a bunch of people
they'll be fine.
asking for refunds, but
They'll be fine.
They'll still do an 8-figure gate.
Well, for sure, just because, like, particularly the people who spent the most on tickets. You dropped, 20 grand to get floor seats, and now it's not Connor.
It's crazy.
People are not gonna want that shit. And now because the other thing about Ortega Lopez is the winner or loser can still turn around and fight at the Sphere. Like there's going to be enough of a gap there.
Maybe
if they want to stay on that, they could maybe do
both of those men fight super reckless. They might not be in any sort of shape to have a quick turnaround. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is that fight gonna be at 45?
Yeah.
Even short notice. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Hope they can make the weight healthy.
Kind of wish they would, honestly, but
yeah, I wish it just whatever.
Just say it's 155 fight. You're fine.
Or 150. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. Who cares about a weight cut?
John.
Just show up. It's 2 weeks. You show up.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Open weight
John,
fight between the two of you. I don't care.
Yeah. Since Alex said the UFC twice, if he loses, we'll get a rubber match. If he wins, they'll let him fight John Jones. Thoughts?
The last part of that's incorrect. The first part is correct.
Yeah.
If Alex loses, they're just gonna run it right back, which is totally fine.
I bet they do that.
I like that.
They could do. I bet if Alex loses, I bet the trilogy fight is the co-main event for the John fight at MSG.
I would absolutely agree that sounds correct. And I'm fine with that because it would be dope. And the alternative, while I have been strongly supporting this man for years, no one is excited about Magomed Ankalaev becoming the champion. So the longer they can kick that can down the road, maybe the problem will go away. So,
Pretty much.
When you said that
first
name, I
part
was
is
like,
true.
who? I totally forgot who that was when you mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah.
Probably the best light heavyweight in the world, and probably has been that for 2 years, if not longer. Just never going to get to fight for the title at this rate.
No, he needs Carlos Ulberg to beat Anthony Smith, and then he's gonna have to fight Carlos Ulberg. That's it.
If he's lucky,
he's gonna have to put a beating on him.
Ulberg into a title fight.
I mean, Anthony Smith or Carlos Ulberg.
True.
Anthony Smith has.
Ankalaev already fought Anthony Smith, though. We don't want to see that.
Oh, we're talking about Ankalaev. I thought we were talking about Alex Perez. Yeah. Because
I was
Khalil Roundtree is floating
if Anthony Smith wins, then this is where Alex Perez has power.
Oh, bro! If Alex Perez and Anthony Smith win, just book that. Because they've been talking too much.
No, we cannot have Anthony Smith challenging for the light heavyweight title in 2024.
Why? All right, fair. All right, you know what? You're right. 2025 International Fight Week. There you go.
Oh my God!
You gotta
I want Magomed to get the belt because he deserves to be the
Who's
champion.
this Magomed guy you keep talking about?
Yeah.
I've never heard of him. I've never heard of this guy.
He's the guy that fought Jan Blachowicz. He's the guy that fought Jan Blachowicz to a draw.
He's the guy that even Jan was like, actually, he beat me. It's so silly.
Yeah.
You
got Dana White, and now he's just not fighting for the belt. It was boring.
What's the situation with Khalil Roundtree? I know he had that USADA, or not USADA anymore.
He's gonna be fine. July, he's clear. So
yeah.
Oh, do you throw Khalil in there with Magomed? Ooh,
I need Khalil to fight Alex Pereira for the bit. I need the gimmick to come to fruition. I need it to happen.
Khalil if he goes in there and beats Ankalaev, he gets it.
Khalil fights the winner of Smith Ulberg. You do that.
Dude, but if Khalil Roundtree versus Magomed fight, the winner of that, I think, is very clearly could fight for a title. Because both of those guys
very clearly, but I don't want to watch Magomed just take Khalil down a bunch. It's not fun.
Sorry, bro.
It's 100% how that fight goes. It's not fun. I want to watch Khalil Roundtree kickbox Alex Pereira because that's funny to me. Ah.
All right.
But yeah, no, he's not fighting John Jones. Not yet. Maybe after. John's not going to fight anyone that's not named Stipe for whatever reason. And maybe after that, if Pereira, if he can finagle a way to fight Pereira instead of fight Aspinall, John might consider fighting again for that.
And John would beat Alex Pereira in about a minute. You just tackle him.
Yeah, he would just immediately tackle him and then elbow him a bunch until he wrapped up a choke.
John Jones, because like John Jones is a big man now. Like he looks like an actual heavyweight, and Alex Pereira is a
very large person,
lanky light heavyweight.
And if Pereira wins on the 29th, and they book and posterize John versus Stipe, and something happens with Stipe, you think they're calling Tom Aspinall or Curtis Blades first to replace him? Hell no, they're calling Alex Pereira. It'll be. I bet
Alex. I don't know, because Alex had a broken toes or broken foot or whatever after his Jamal fight. I can't believe this fight has happened. Like
that's why I was shocked.
Read is if anyone hasn't, like, go read Alex Pereira's like Instagram post about it. Is not sounding overly confident. Like, of the two, Yuri is like, I'm summoning the storms to win, and then
that's just Yuri.
And then Alex is like, yeah, this is a really last minute fight, but this is what we do. I'm Alex Pereira. Like, I'm gonna channel the energy from my
I'm Alex Pereira.
From my ancestors. I'm like, yeah.
That's the thing is, this is just like a no-lose situation.
Yeah.
If he loses, he does get the rematch, like almost guaranteed. But like theoretically, if they did this fight, with full camps in 3 weeks, maybe if Yuri wins, they don't immediately run the rematch back because there are other contenders. But now it's like, if I lose, I'll just get another crack at it later. So
you know what he's gonna say?
If I win, I'll never have to fight this dude again.
If Alex Pereira loses and they want to go in a different direction, Alex Pereira is gonna say, "I'm Alex Pereira."
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm Chama. And they're like, okay.
I'm Alex Pereira.
It's his close.
Yuri's tweet read exactly how he talks. I love I love how that, because he pauses between words, because like what Habib said, he's trying to translate while talking. And he's like, I don't even remember what he says. He's like, first of all, the words I am are now one word. In Yuri Prohaska's, so it's like I am going to be, and then it's like hashtag like the storm. I'm just like, it's very over the top, but okay.
He's
and
like,
then there's a photo of him with flaming eyes.
Yeah, Yuri just is like, what would the Ultimate Warrior say in 1989? That's, and then he just somehow modernizes it and makes it his own. He's just such a wacko in the best possible way.
Best.
No, he's
just the best. My large adult son, just my favorite person. God, I hope he wins.
Dude, if Alex Pereira wins, if Alex Pereira beats Yuri Prohaska, is he the greatest free agent signing the UFC has ever had?
He's already the greatest free agent. He saved 300 and this 303 debacle. Like, he's already
like. Yeah, Ronda Rousey was a big signing. Or whatever, but like,
didn't they just acquire her?
Yeah. I don't know how those contracts work, because like they didn't get Fedor in the acquisition, or any Strikeforce contracts are a little different, so I don't know how it all played out. But yes,
I think Fedor was like a promotion, but
yeah. But you get what I'm saying.
But yes, Alex, because also like most of the other free agent signings in UFC history have been fun and have not worked out. Like, Mirko was still fun and a productive UFC heavyweight, but he didn't become a 2-division champion who saved multiple fight cards or whatever. Like, it's just
Connor's a pretty good.
I was gonna say Connor is probably the correct answer, but Pereira's right there.
It doesn't even really. Was he a free agent so much as he was a prospect?
Technically, yeah.
Technically, but then that
what's the difference though? It's not like Pereira's fighting for
one dude is already an established fighter.
Yeah,
to some extent.
Like Yuri was a free agent signing.
Very popular. In the UFC
Yuri and Manel. Yeah, Connor was a big deal before he signed. Yeah. And but then Kaya Sakura is not a free agent, right? Like, he was allowed to go.
Yeah,
I don't know how that contract situation played out, but yes.
Here's the difference. Are you making 10-10 in your first fight, then you're not a free agent. If you're able to negotiate a real salary to start, then you're a free agent. So
breaking news.
Yeah. Oh God, what else has happened?
Breaking news. Oh God. Jed, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about your Josh Van bet anymore because the fight is not happening. It is canceled. Tatsuro Taira versus Josh Van.
God.
UFC Vegas.
Oh yes, flyweights.
Now we're down to 12
Fucking love
fights.
that weight class, baby.
José Johnson just killed himself.
Now we're down to 12 fights.
Half of the fights in this weight class just never happen.
Life's a blessing.
Now start the card. Now let's do 4 p.m. prelim, 7 p.m. main card, and we're off to the races.
That's awesome. That's so
unbelievable.
Fun.
We were worried about José Johnson being 6'7" and making 125, and he makes it with ease. And Tatsuro Taira comes through.
Oh my God!
We lose an entire fight. Fuck, man. Josh Van just getting booked and booked and booked, and fights is falling through. They kept shuffling the deck for him.
Yeah. He's
Wild.
so good.
So that is the
so
fifth canceled fight in the last 24 hours for the UFC.
I'm just straight up like, I know José Johnson made weight. Pull his ass. I don't care. Have Josh Van step in and fight on the Bayev. That's a cooler fight.
No, I want to see just have Josh Van do horrible things to José Johnson. Just have a showcase fight.
I mean,
because the image of
who really
Josh
cares
Van,
about the Nate Maness, Jimmy Flick? Get one of those guys off the card so Josh Van's still competing.
I want, because Josh Van would take a 6-foot man and fold him in half. That's what I want to see.
I want Almabayev and Van to be able to compete on Saturday, and I don't care about Maness versus Jimmy Flick. So kick one of them off the card and shuffle that group however you will so they're competing.
Or send José Johnson to Saudi Arabia and he can fight Montel Jackson at bantamweight.
I mean, that does feel rude, though, that he did make the weight, and then you're like, actually, good. Just next week, buddy.
Better opportunity.
Yeah, but he made the weight this week, and then you're gonna make him fight next week. It's just tough, you know.
But then he doesn't have to cut it again. I don't know. Let him choose.
I would assume he would have to cut again. I don't think he's like walking at 135.
He's certainly not walking at 126 either. Just just offer it up, but do it very salesman-y. Look, Jose, you can stay on this card and fight this Asu Almabayev guy, or you can go to
someone to fight Josh
Saudi.
Van. I like Josh Van. Oh, Taira, tough scenes.
Tough scenes.
Flyweight.
Tough scenes.
What a great, silly, stupid division. Dude, like half the people blow weight because it's giant humans trying to make 125.
Unbelievable, dude.
All right.
It's wild.
We got a few more super chats.
Let's go. Jameek, Roundtree versus Jan is the fight. Sure.
That's fine.
It's a fight.
Don't hate it.
Don't hate that. Totally reasonable.
Is Jan healthy? As I know he had that bad injury.
Yeah, he's out. He's still on the shelf, but maybe end of the year.
I like that.
If you
fight,
don't
though.
do that, then who's Ankalaev ever going to fight though? You have to let Magomed fight someone.
Jay Fish, shout out to big UFC fan Joe Mazzulla. Correct. Fans are starting to appreciate the greatness of Joe.
That's my head coach. Pride of Rhode Island.
Shout out to
Joe Mazzulla.
Shout out to the reporter that is in Dallas right now, who is asking, like, because when you're there, Jose, we always make sure we have like pros predicts or like a reaction to something. One reporter in Dallas is asking every Celtics player their best Joe Mazzulla story. Like, what's the best thing he said?
It's my favorite thing I've seen.
It's incredible. Derek White was probably my favorite because they were like, he was like, what's the best thing he said to you? And Derek White's like, hey, coach, congratulations on winning Coach of the Month. He goes, nobody cares, or something like that. Or,
yeah, dude, that dude is a maniac. I love that. Yeah, he's also younger than like everyone. Like, how old are you, Mike?
41.
Casey, you're like 73.
I'm almost 73. Yeah.
Yeah, 73. So
Damn.
Joe Mazzulla is like 34 and is about to
No way.
could potentially. Yeah,
Is
he
that
might
40?
win an NBA championship as a head. He's younger than he's younger than LeBron, and he's an NBA
Wow.
head coach, and he's a psycho. He is a psych. I'm sure you saw, like, you might not have seen the stories about it float under your radar because you're there on site for the boxing. But Joe Mazzulla, the head coach of the Celtics, has his players watch UFC highlights of people getting out of submissions because their opponent lets go too early, and he's like,
It's too confident.
Yeah, don't stop squeezing their neck. I'm just like, Joe Mazzulla. And then he goes, like, did you see Jamal Hill get knocked out? And he brought it up. I'm like, oh, this dude is a psycho. Just watching.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, because I was watching. The reporter's asking this question. He goes, she's like, which fights do you show him? He goes, what fights haven't I showed him? And he goes, at 302, guy gets kicked in the nuts, and then he complains about it the whole time and ends up losing. Goes, then you look at Pereira at 300. He goes, he gets kicked in the nuts, and then 5 seconds later he knocks out Jamal Hill. He goes, that's the difference.
Yeah.
We want more to incentivize. We want our players to be more Pereira-esque. It's just good stuff.
You mean cheating?
Psycho.
Because as we know, the only reason Pereira knocked out Jamal Hill is because he was too concerned about having just fouled Pereira, and so that's how Poatan set up the finishing blow.
Come on.
That's the most incredible mental gymnastics of all time.
Mostly shout out to Joe, and I can't wait for Jamal Hill to call out Joe Mazzulla because of him talking about. Anyway, I digress. We love Joe Mazzulla. We stand Joe Mazzulla.
We didn't mention Jamal Hill by name, but
Pride of Warwick, Rhode Island. Went to high school 2 miles from me. Respect.
Do you guys know Andrei Arlovski's fighting at UFC 303? Because I just learned this.
Yeah. Yep.
is he fighting Martin Guy? Is that what the fight
Sure
is?
is.
Oh boy, heavyweight
No one
over
is
nation.
to talk about it. Andrei Arlovski might have the most impressive record in UFC history. 41 fights as a heavyweight. He's about to be 42.
Dude.
No one's going to come close to that.
After being released and coming back too.
No one is going to come close to the just overall fight record he is.
No one has had more. No one has had more. Has anyone had more loss streaks combined with 4 wins, winning streaks ever in MMA? It's a win chance. 4, lose 4. Win 4, lose 4. The man is unbelievable.
Like 4 leave on a stretcher losses, not just 4 losses. You know?
Yeah,
it is wild.
Dude, he has so many fights.
And he's such a grump at media day. He's such a grump at media day.
It's insane.
Except for
wicked grumpy.
For whatever reason, John Morgan, formerly of MMA Junkie, was like the Andrei Arlovski whisperer, because Andrei Arlovski would come in like just piss and vinegar, and then the second you see John Morgan, he'd like light it up, and then he'd have like a great media day. I don't quite understand why. Maybe it's just because John's been covering him for so long. And then when we were in Jacksonville, I think it was Jacksonville, might have been Houston, we like went out to get dinner, and Andrei Arlovski was at the restaurant as a guest fighter and bought John Morgan 20 beers at once as like a joke. Like the the waitress walked over, because we all had our laptops out working, and then this bartender walks out and goes, I have 20 beers for John Morgan, and John's like, I did not order those. And then we like look over, and Andrei Arlovski standing there saluting, and then he just walks out the front door. I was like, what a maniac.
He is the GOAT.
John's like,
dude, he has 12 more fights than Derek Lewis. Like,
that's crazy.
That's crazy.
He has double-digit more fights than anyone other than a lightweight. It is so insane. His career.
He's a maniac. Did he fight on? He fought on the first World Series of Fighting and the first one championship, right?
That sounds like that might be right.
He fought one. I forgot about one.
I'm pretty sure he fought Tim Sylvia for the 4th time at one.
Oh, it wasn't the first one, because I just pulled it up as 1-5, but yes.
Oh yeah, and it was because he did soccer kicks. It was like a DQ, right? Yeah,
he did a flip in, lead. Like, he has just had the greatest career.
That's former former WAMA title contender Andrei
Yep.
Arlovski. WAMA never die.
Jim Miller only
Yeah.
has 2 more fights than him in the UFC.
That's crazy.
And then that's a lightweight, baby. God damn. No one is going to come close to beating this
No.
ever.
Never.
He's the Iron Man, the heavyweight Iron Man.
Just a hero. And they've been terrible fights for the last decade. Just been the worst fights you've ever seen.
Heavyweight over King.
Once in a decade, he'll have that just amazing fight, though. Once in a decade.
Like the Travis
like-
Brown
Dude,
fight.
when he
Like the Travis Brown fight, just
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
when he
Like-
came back and he still couldn't throw a hook, he still couldn't throw his left hook, but he figured out how to backhand people instead of using.
Yeah.
It's just the best thing. He's
Yeah.
so great. I love him so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
How
had,
the hell did we get to Andrei Arlovski?
Because I was just looking at UFC 303.
Who died.
I was like, that was dope.
Everything happening. That's so
when are you
funny.
gonna do a dam? A dam.
when he
on-
If he
retired.
ever retires,
He'll never retire.
2032.
yeah, man, it is the best.
And go into YouTube, search Andrei Arlovski, mixed martial arts, and we did a video on him and his
Oh, yeah.
wonderful, the late great Maximus, just to see a different side of Andrei Arlovski. That was just, and
He's
when
moving
he fought-
up.
Yeah. When he fought in World Series of Fighting, I did the countdown show. I was hired by World Series, and so I went to where did I go? I went to Albuquerque. He was training Albuquerque at the time, so I spent a couple of days of Andre. It was great. It was great. It was just really interesting. Just watching his training routine and it was very much a job. It was really interesting. It's just like all right, now
That's
run.
why I like him, because honestly, more so than maybe any other fighter I can think of, he feels like a dude who is still doing this because it is his job. Like,
really-
this is
it
just
felt that
the
way.
job that I have.
Yeah.
He's probably making damn good money at this job.
He's
Oh,
making
I
so
can't even
much money.
imagine.
Like tremendous money.
You guys want to fathom a guess at what his total octagon fight time is?
many-
God, I couldn't
What's-
even.
Oh, is it over 8 hours? Is that
It
that
is
crazy?
no. The only person who is over 8 hours in history is Rafael dos Anjos. So it is
Is
not over
it-
8 hours.
is
He is
it-
top 10.
Is it between? Oh, so he's top
6
10, and
hours,
Rafael
44
dos Anjos.
minutes.
What would you say? 644.
644.
631.
$1.
Yeah, I was gonna say
630
someone's got a price.
634.58, and
I was
very
over.
likely
Anyways,
he's number 9. Very likely he moves past Neil Magny for number 7 with this Budai fight.
Yeah,
And
he's
that's
had
just-
all those fights, and he's not number one because a lot of his fights are over real quick.
Yeah, because he's heavyweight. Because
and all
every
of his
other
prime
person
was
on this
outside of the
list
UFC.
is a lightweight
That's true.
or a welterweight,
true.
and then it's him. It's the best.
Oh, so
Shout
easily
out
a heavyweight.
Arlovski.
He's number 1 and a heavyweight, correct?
I would imagine.
Easily.
Oh yeah, it can't
Not even,
be
like-
remotely close. It
Who was
can't.
gonna be-
even in that realm?
It's gonna be like a Cal Ripken
Hold
type
on.
record, just never broken.
Why don't you hold on and I'll let you know as I'm looking up.
I know.
This something. Oh, well, number 2 is in fact the man who has the second most fights, Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis is 2 hours behind Andrei Arlovski in fight. Derek Lewis is 4 hours and 25 minutes of combined octagon time. 2 hours. You can
Jesus
watch
Christ.
a full movie. You can watch
You can watch
the
a
new
full
Bad
mo-
Boys.
That's like watching all of the Lord of the Rings extended cuts back to back to back and getting. That's Andrei Arlovski's career right there.
It's the best. Dude,
Because
every other heavyweight is so much less. The number 4 guy, I'm sorry, no, the number 5 guy all time is Roy Nelson. Andre has literally twice as much on time as Roy Nelson.
And,
And that's
Andre
not
and
factoring
Roy
in
Nelson
his WSOF or any of his other shit. It's the
and
best.
Andre and Roy Nelson have actually fought each other, but outside of the UFC.
yeah,
They
yeah.
did. That was,
They
that was
probably
absolute robbery effort from the referee.
Roy Nelson got robbed, right? Was that what happened? I can't remember.
They stood him up from like mount.
Yeah.
And then Andre killed him.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
It's so dumb. Like, this mount's not good enough. And Roy's like, what the fuck? He gets uppercut and he's done.
All right.
Oh, God. Right. I love any time we can get to Andrei Arlovski talk. It makes me really happy. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time.
All right. Other super chats.
Oh, I forgot we're doing a show. It's not just us talking about silly things.
We're on air. Yeah.
Whew.
Jose, you miss weight for sure. Also, Jed, will Ortega continue to be bad at fighting against Lopez? Hope Taira and Van win, so 125 is more fun. So Left Lane is literally under the impression, and he said this on Heck of Morning, that Brian Ortega is going to get smoked by Diego Lopez. Like, Diego Lopez is going to smoke Brian Ortega. Do you agree with that?
Which means Brian Ortega is going to win. Like, this actually, we were talking about this in the reaction show, or actually after the reaction show last night, because Brian Ortega obviously came up, and I'm very publicly like anti-Brian Ortega. Not necessarily as a person, I don't much care in that regard, but he is the most frustrating fighter to me because I genuinely do not believe that he is good, despite the fact that he is obviously very good at fighting, because he's just always losing fights, and then somehow he wins the fight, and it doesn't. I cannot make sense of him as a fighter, and so he is a frustrating viewing experience for me as a fan. This is like the ultimate test of that, because Diego Lopez is not a dude who just like heaves losses away. He is very, very talented and like has that grit and that, stick-to-itiveness or whatever to him. And so like I think Lopez will win this fight, and I don't think Lopez will just kind of implode and give up his neck or get uppercutted or, the things that happen in Brian Ortega fights. So this should be a Diego Lopez win. I have no confidence ever betting against Brian Ortega because I continue to think he will lose. And then he goes out there and, beats the soul out of Yair Rodriguez or whatever. Like it's just, I'll never understand him. I think he should lose this fight. I'll have to watch to find out because I'm probably wrong.
Probably. I mean, honestly, I think Lopez would probably win, but I don't think he smokes Ortega because nobody smokes Ortega unless you're Max Holloway.
No, but like they do smoke him because he does not understand the value of defense. His defense is being a hard motherfucker, and like that's dope. But that's why I think he's bad, because everyone tees off on his ass, and then he like is like, I can't be killed by man or God, and I also have potent offense. But like Diego Lopez is going to style on him. It is just a question of whether that styling lets him win, or Ortega just is like, whatever, dude, I'm still gonna finish you because that's how I exist. I don't get him. He's very frustrating.
One of Jed's favorites, Brian Ortega.
Talking about amazing free agent signings, Diego Lopez out of nowhere. Was he a short notice guy? They just kind of
against Mavsar.
Threw him in against Mavsar.
Yeah, it wasn't like they were after him. It's just, we need somebody. Like, hey, Alexa, you know anybody? Yeah, that's crazy. All right, thank you very much.
I mean, somebody posted this earlier. It wasn't like a super chat, but Lopez and Pereira are coming in at 300 and 303, really up in their profile in a major way this year.
Yeah, I tweeted it, and like the last time Conor fought, neither Diego or Alex were even on the UFC roster, and now they're on 300, and then now International Fight Week on short notice fights to save the day. Life comes at you fast.
Left Lane says we need a fewer BTL. Cross versus Achilles now. We'd get 11 views.
What is that? What were those words? That combination of words and letters? I didn't understand any of that.
Those are two notorious commenters.
Yeah. He's saying they should just battle on. We should bring them on to battle on
Achilles is the dude who always shit talks New York Rick, and Cross is the dude who, with a straight face, told us that UFC 300 wasn't a very good card on paper.
It was a 3-fight card. Is that what he said?
It was three. He was like, there are 3 or 4 fights that are good on this card. It was like, that's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
One of the worst takes in the history of the.
How did Cross not make the Dana video? Like take out AK, put Cross in there.
I still have never respected an insane take more. It's just the audacity of that take.
He stood his ground. He stood his ground.
No, they're like 4 fights that are good. What are you talking about, man?
This is a 4-fight
UFC
card.
300 up against Vegas 93.
Arlovski 7-3 as a pro fighter when Raul Rosas Jr. was born.
That's like when for Noche UFC, they did a panel with all the Mexican and Mexican American fighters, and Gilbert Melendez hosted, and the media were allowed to ask questions. And I was like, "Hey, Gil, you made your debut in 2002, like your pro debut, and Raul Rosas was born in 2004." And Gil was like, "Don't say that. Like that is a very annoying sentence."
This is terrible, dude. Arlovski's been fighting for 4 decades. He's been fighting since the 90s.
A simpler time.
And you remember his pro debut? Because I don't remember it happening, but it's my favorite fact that he lost to Datsik in his fucking pro debut. God, MMA, what a time.
You can find that video too. It's a crazy video.
You sure can.
Crazy. You can find it. It's crazy. What was Andrei's first?
Datsik. Dude, Datsik's still out there fighting because he's a psychopath. Oh, God.
What is happening in that media room?
They heard us talking about Andrei Arlovski Datsik, and they're like, I got to Google this video. Let me see what that's about. Oh!
Wow.
All right. Boxing media.
Oh, my God. Boxing media is so annoying.
Hater. Yeah. I mean,
that's a great comment. Great chat.
Jameek, where's this rank in craziest news cycles?
Question.
Is this crazier than 279?
I don't know. It's
Those are the
definitely just weird because, like,
is this even top 5 for Conor?
No, I wouldn't say
200 is probably the craziest.
Yeah, well, no, 196 was pretty crazy when Nate stepped up against RDA. That's like the biggest linchpin in like MMA history, because that just like changed the trajectory of the entire sport.
I mean, that was
crazy.
That was definitely a big moment. But
189 was crazy when Aldo pulled out like 11 days before.
Yep, that was a big one.
This is probably
I don't think this is top 5.
This is just different because Conor's never pulled out of a fight because of an injury, and we don't know what the injury is. So it's the most mysterious, that's for sure. But top 5, I don't know.
Mysterious for sure.
I actually think there's an argument that it is the craziest just because of how prolonged it was. Whereas like the other ones, it was like, oh shit, RDA's out, Nate's coming in off a yacht and fighting Conor. Like that was like here's an unexpected thing that happened immediately. This has been going on for 2 weeks, and the kind of roller coaster that we've been on has certainly been different than those others. So like, if that's the lens you're viewing, you convince me it's number 1, but it's certainly a weird one. I can't remember a time where it was that silent about something.
That's the thing. And like there were no leaks. There's no videos of
there's no leak
Conor
in
was
the
at the hospital. There's no nothing. It's just interesting. So it's by far the most mysterious. Like this will be a conversation we'll have forever until we find something out. Like if someone writes a book and talks about it, maybe, but like it's up there.
Real quick.
The UFC sale week, that whole thing was also
that's true. That was pretty crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Because that was all
the
of
UFC,
that part and parcel together was just
the UFC sale.
That's probably the answer.
Anyway, what do you think, Casey?
As far as craziest news cycle, I still think it's the Conor Habib bust thing. That whole
true.
week. That's
one.
for
True.
me. Maybe because I was
That's
there at
probably
the courthouse at the when he was
Yeah,
arrested
that
and
was-
stuff.
I mean,
Honestly,
the
the bus thing was wild. The John Jones getting arrested like a couple hours after his red carpet Hall of Fame appearance is pretty wild. The Nate, Hamzat, Daniel Rodriguez, like Tony Ferguson thing was because that's also never happened. Like they changed fights
the shuffle.
on the day of the weigh. Like everyone weighed in and they still changed fights. Like so that's pretty wild. So yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, that was a wild one.
But I do think now that you say it, Casey, like that, what was it, 220 whatever, the 223 or whatever, the Conor throwing the dolly thing, because then that same like fight week thing had like the Tony Ferguson, Max Holloway, Ali Akinta thing kind of played into it too. So like that whole week was probably the answer because there was so many things happening.
Yeah, you can commit that. I think I'm with you.
I remember how many fighters dropped out of the card from the broken glass, like Rose and Chiesa. Like it was like a.
And then there were
many people too.
There were lawsuits, like fighters, like Artem was supposed to fight like what the next week or whatever, or the next whatever, and they got pulled off.
And you had all of that shit. Oh yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah.
Habib, Artem stuff and all. Oh yeah, that's it. But this was a real weird one.
Real quick, because we did BTL yesterday. Do we believe Dana?
I don't.
Was it an injury, or does it even matter?
I don't know
at this point.
I don't think it matters.
I do.
I am not. This is not based on anything. I do not believe it, but I feel like I made my thoughts pretty clear on what I believe. But it's entirely speculative.
Just curious.
The only way that
idea.
Conor doesn't come out of this looking bad is if this is an injury, and it could be an injury. I'm not certain that's true.
I feel like it is.
I always felt it was an injury.
Yeah,
but,
I feel like I feel after like talking to a couple people last night and just hearing like Ariel explain it the way that he explained it, I think it's an injury.
Because to me, if it was contract stuff, they would have still done the press conference, and that would have just made Conor's value even higher to kind of, negotiate after the press conference. But if he had some sort of injury, he still has to walk across the stage. He still has to do a face-off, and if he couldn't do that without hiding the injury or whatever, then that's why that was my feeling the whole time. But we'll see. Fights off. All right, and last questions, maybe right off topic a little bit.
Is PFL's tactic of hand building a homegrown superstar in Dakota Dejeva going to pay off?
No. It's just not. I don't know. They hand built Kayla Harrison. I guess you could say that paid off to some extent, but look where that got him. It's not.
Yeah.
I
just don't.
What's
it
payoff?
could.
What do we think payoff mean? Like, it's just she becomes a star because the fact that we're talking about her seems to be something that we don't talk about PFL in general. Like, who are other PFL?
Because there's literally nothing PFL does that is intriguing or exciting at all, except for Cedric Doumbé and her. That's it. Because they're just fun and there's
I like
upside.
the champ card. That was fun.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. That
was fun.
We didn't get any of the fights we wanted though. Like that was
we didn't get the big ones, which was tough. But
yeah, that's like WCW invading WWF. Like
we
didn't get Goldberg or any of the cool people, but we got
no
like
Goldberg,
some people
no
that
Sting,
we saw fight.
None of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, paying off would be if she wins the $1 million. It's going to pay off big. She's over like Rover if she goes and wins, but boy, is that going to be tough.
If she wins, she's a legitimate top 10 at worst, top 5 women's flyweight.
Yeah.
If she wins. So
if she beats whoever she would beat to get there, yes, but
yeah, and I think
they're not staying afloat financially because Dakota Dejeva becomes.
No, that's something.
It's going to pay off. It's going to pay off for her because if she wins the $1 million, yes, she's contracted for another year, but she could also structure that year however she wants to do it. Like, she doesn't have to do the tournament. She could just go and do a couple pay-per-view fights, and then she could beat feet on out of there to the UFC, because that's where she ultimately wants to go. So will it pay off for her? Yes. Is it going to pay off for PFL? Probably not. I think she will eventually leave there and go to the UFC. And that's where she'll have her golden years as a professional mixed martial artist.
Do the Chandler thing.
Because that's the best way to go through MMA. Like, if I was a manager of someone with talent, I'd be like, no, don't sign to the UFC. We'll sign to the UFC later when we can negotiate a price. But we're going to go fight in PFL and, learn how to be a star here, because you'll have more opportunity because they need someone.
You'll make a lot more money.
You'll make more money. You'll have a little more freedom to, not be so rigid and forced into draconian stuff. And then when you build a inherent value, then we can use that to leverage you to the next job. And that's just business 101 in general.
Yeah. They need her.
You make more money when you change jobs, not by getting promoted at your current job. So do that.
Yep. And that's what I think will happen.
And last comment.
Jose, the type to say Drake won the beef.
Wow. That's hate speech.
I mean, those are fighting words.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I recognize this guy's name. I believe, if I remember correctly, he said some incorrect things. That is a very incorrect thing.
He said some incorrect things. He hasn't been batting 1,000.
I think the most positive sentence I've ever said about Drake is he's not the worst rapper alive, but he's certainly not in the upper echelon. Yeah, that's a clown sentence.
True.
Drake has never won anything except a participation trophy.
Is Drake the modern day like Will Smith in terms of music?
No, because Will Smith has been corny since the minute he started making whatever, like content or being a superstar or whatever. Drake had, I will say one positive thing. Drake had a very important mixtape in the annals of hip hop, and then he became like the hottest, talking about free agents, like the hottest free agent in hip hop, and then he signed with freaking Young Money, Cash Money, which the second he did that, I'm like, oh, you're just a garbage person. And I was correct this entire time. He's just not put out good stuff. He's not put out good stuff.
This Big Willie style and Millennium erasure. You guys, we're still living in the Millennium. We're still in it. Like he claimed the whole Millennium.
Will Smith is a garbage
Summertime absolutely slaps. I mean, it just does. It's you
know what else slaps? Will Smith when someone says anything negative.
But see,
like
that was years later. That was years
You're
later.
Correct.
When him and Jazzy Jeff were doing the thing, they were killing it.
You know what? Jamal Hill's skin is ironclad compared to Will Smith's paper-thin ego. And the only one that has thinner skin is Drake. Both of those men are clowns.
But Bad Boys 4 was quite enjoyable.
Okay. Have you seen Martin Lawrence? Is like, it's like so sad to watch.
That movie.
It's like such a sad to watch thing going on with Martin Lawrence right now. Martin is a great TV show. Don't need Bad Boys 4. Didn't need a Bad Boys 2 or 3.
Unbelievable in Bad Boy 4. He's so funny.
I'm sure he is. Martin Lawrence is an actual talented comedic person, unlike his partner.
I mean, I don't understand the Will Smith hate, but do you?
I mean, I get it.
I don't like Will Smith. I didn't like Will Smith's music. I've always long said all of his movies are just the same movie with some sort of different setting. It's like Will Smith has to save something, and then it's either he's teaching someone how to golf and to save the day and solve racism, save the world from aliens, save the world as a superhero, save the world from aliens again, save the world from concussions, which was a terrible movie, end slavery, emancipation, which was a terrible movie. It's not great. It's not a great actor, not a great musician, great at making money. So if that's one thing, props to Will Smith. I think 8 movies have been #1. Great.
He's
Independence
a good actor,
Day, great
very
movie.
Good movie
not great
star.
because of Will Smith. Men in Black, Men in Black 1 and I think the third one,
Two.
awesome Men in Black. Awesome Men in Black movies. Not because of
I really like all three
I'll
of them,
rephrase.
honestly. The second one's kind of
Will Smith was great in Men in Black 1. That is a great movie. Men in Black 3 was
give him
also
Men in
great.
Black. Give him Men in Black. Give him Men in Black.
Yeah, I will give you Men in Black. Will Smith was awesome in Men in
He's
Black.
terrific in Independence Day. He's not the best part of Independence Day, but he's great in it.
Will Smith was good in Men in Black because he played Will Smith, not because he was any sort of great actor. And Tommy Lee Jones is the man in that too. And then he made Wild Wild West, that idiot.
Well, that movie's bad, but if he hadn't, he would have made The Matrix. I don't think The Matrix would have been as good with Will Smith in The Matrix. So
yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah,
so thank you, Will Smith.
The song's better.
So you know what? Thank you, Will Smith, for not making The Matrix.
Or, I mean, I'm still kind of would have liked to see his Django, honestly.
No, and that's the other thing. Who gives Quentin Tarantino notes on his movie? You dumb idiot! Don't do that.
You know,
I'm not even like a Quentin Tarantino mark, but like that's a very silly thing to do. Quentin Tarantino is a professional who makes good movies.
This is incredible stuff. Just remember,
watch Bad Boys 4. It's dope.
If some of these shows, the volume goes a little low, just mention Will Smith when Jose is on the show. We're really gonna ramp things up.
Fired up. I did not
think that comment.
That was where we're going.
So good, so good. UFC Vegas 93 down to 11 fights now after losing to Tagir Ulanbekov versus Josh Van. And then there's other things happening. The Celtics are gonna sweep the series and become NBA champions tonight. It's just a good time to be alive right now, ladies and gentlemen. So for the dancing Casey in Las Vegas, Jed in Atlanta, Jose in New York, I am Mike Heck. Mike Conlon says Will Smith slaps. We're out of here.
Chris
Andrei
Rock.
Arlovski's the man.
Love you guys and girls.